welcome you to Bristol, Tennessee, in the eastern portion of the Volunteer State, and Bristol International Raceway, where we have a cloudy day, an 80% chance of rain. The temperature at 60 degrees. It has been raining here at Bristol in the past hour. As a matter of fact, we have a few sprinkles right now. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. This our first NASCAR Winston Cup telecast for 1986, and there are several storylines we'll be watching today. First of all, there have been 10 different winners in the last 10 Winston Cup races. Dale Earnhardt has led the most laps this year, but has not captured a victory so far. Darrell Waltrip's record here at Bristol, however, is very impressive. And there have been some rule changes from NASCAR we'll be talking about throughout the afternoon. With me in the booth today is Benny Parsons, a former Winston Cup champion and still active, of course, in Winston Cup racing. Benny, there's only one way to describe these high banks here at Bristol, and that is tough.
They are so tough. This racetrack, so much excitement at Bristol. The racetrack, 114 miles an hour. Jeff Bodine qualified for the pole. How fast that is on a half-mile racetrack. And yesterday in the Grand National race, we saw cars side by side on these banks at 110, 112 miles an hour. Excitement, that's the only word you can describe Bristol.
Jeff Bodine crashing yesterday with Larry Pollard in that Grand National race, but he's okay and will be on the pole for today's event. Now, as far as parity is concerned, we've had 4 different winners already this year in 4 different kinds of cars.
It's unbelievable just how much competition. I looked at the starting lineup today for the Valleydale 500, and I look and I can find 12, 15 guys that can win the race, that honestly can win the race today. And I know where you're going to find parity like that in motorsports.
Well, it's a little windy here, and the rain is beginning to fall once again. Nevertheless, let's go down right now to the third member of our broadcast team, working the pit area for us today, Jack Arute.
Bob, rain will be a key issue in today's race. The racetrack, well, they can dry that, no problem there. But the pit road area, both on this side of the wall and on the side where the cars and the crews go for 13, 14-second pit stops, they'll stay damp all afternoon. And you'll have to keep your heads about you, especially on that first stop, because some standing water may still be out there when you pull in for service from your crew. We'll stay on top of it down here in the pits. Let's go back up to you guys.
Thank you, Jack. 32 are set to take the green flag for the Valleydale 500, which is being brought to you from Pit Road, and in just a few moments we'll be starting this 500-lap race. The race will be started under caution because there are portions of the track that aren't completely dry yet, so they will start the race under caution, run a few laps, and when the track gets completely dry, they will turn the green light on. Now, the 32 cars starting lineup for today's Valleydale 500. On the pole with a new Winston Cup qualifying record of 114.850. Number 5, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet, Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York. On the outside of row number 1 will be Neil Bonnet from Hueytown, Alabama, driving the number 12 Budweiser Chevrolet. The second row on the inside, Tim Richmond from Ashland, Ohio, in the number 25 Folgers Coffee Chevrolet. On the outside of the second row will be Terry Labonte from Corpus Christi, Texas, in the number 44 Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. The third row from Taylorsville, North Carolina, Harry Gant in the number 33 Circle K Skull Bandit Chevrolet. On the outside of the third row from Kannapolis, North Carolina, Dale Earnhardt, car number 3, the Wrangler Goodwrench Chevy. In row number 4 on the inside will be Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, in the number 11 Budweiser Chevrolet. Outside of him in row number 4 will be Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, in the number 15 Motorcraft Ford. The fifth row has Joe Ruttman from Upland, California, in the Quaker State Buick number 26. Outside of the fifth row in car number 22, the Miller American Buick, will be Bobby Allison from Hueytown, Alabama. The sixth row inside, car number 43, the STP Pontiac, driven by Richard Petty from Randleman, North Carolina. Outside of the sixth row, Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Melling Ford. The seventh row will be Rick Wilson in car number 4 and Rusty Wallace in 27. The eighth row, Dave Marcus in 71 and Bobby Hillen Jr. in car number 8. The ninth row, Kyle Petty in number 7 and Eddie Birschwall in 94. Row number 10, 75, Jody Ridley, and 90, Kenny Schrader. The 11th row, Butch Miller in his first Winston Cup race, car number 08, and Alan Kulwicki in 35. The 12th row, Doug Hemron in number 17 and Mike Waltrip in 23. The 13th row, Chet Phillip in car number 81 and Ron Bouchard in 98. The 14th row, Ronnie Thomas in 41 and Tommy Ellis in 18. The 15th row, car 95, Davey Allison, and Morgan Shepherd in 64. Morgan has won 3 NASCAR races in a row. The 16th and final row consists of Buddy Arrington in car number 67 and Trevor Boys in number 6. The last 2 starters were provisional starters. As you can see, the field is moving on the inside of the racetrack. That is the area of the track that is not completely dried off yet. And so we'll run a few laps here under yellow to make sure that everything is in good shape before we go green. There is Morgan Shepherd in car number 64. He won the most recent Winston Cup race, not in this car. That race was at Atlanta, Georgia. And he has won the last 2 Grand National races. And the most recent was yesterday here at Bristol International Raceway. We have Joe Ruttman, who will be one of the drivers we'll be talking with throughout the race. Joe, this is Bob Jenkins up in the ESPN control booth. Can you read me?
Got a copy.
Joe, what's the strategy now? Does this fact that we're starting the race under yellow and with a partially wet racetrack change your strategy in any way?
Bob, it has no real effect because everybody is trying to guess, what is done to the track and how their setups might be working under these conditions. So I would assume that everybody is guessing on how close they might have their car adjusted, but everyone's under the same circumstances, so I think everyone's just on a wait-and-see pattern.
Joe, has the fact that the rain has washed away some of the rubber from the racetrack, making the track perhaps a little more slick?
Well, surprisingly enough, Bob, that it probably would make the track actually grip a little bit better early, because normally what makes the track slick is the tires and fluids that might leak out of the cars normally make the track slicker, which indicates as the race goes on, the track normally gets slicker.
All right, Joe, good luck to you. We'll be talking with you throughout the race. That's Joe Ruttman, the driver of car number 26. Also radio communication with Tim Richmond, who drives the number 25 Folgers car, and Benny will try to establish communication with him.
Yes, Tim Richmond, this is Benny Parsons in ESPN Control. Do you read?
Roger, Benny Parsons. Go ahead, I'll hear you loud and clear.
Joe Ruttman has said that the racetrack will probably grip a little bit better than it did yesterday. Do you agree with that?
It's a good possibility, Benny. I don't know. I figured the track was going to be a whole lot slipperier and greasier after the Grand National race that they had yesterday, but the track was pretty secure feeling yesterday at the last practice. I think it's due to this sealer that they put on the track, and it'll probably stay that way all day, so it might be a little better, but I wouldn't imagine that much.
Do you think that the green racetrack this early will cause a tire problem?
No, not really. We'll probably have a little better grip with the tires, a little better adhesion to the track, which when the track gets greasy, just slide the tires is when you have a tire problem. Right now, this probably won't let us slide the tires that much, I don't think. But if it does, we'll just have to back off and make sure to try to avoid the tire problems, because that can definitely put you out of the race for the contention of it.
Okay, Tim Richmond, we'll be checking with you later. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Benny.
Well, while the cars are under yellow and before we start this race under green, we're going to take this break and be right back for the start of the Valleydale 500 from Bristol. And the race is just about to begin. The cars are in corner number 2, and when they come by the next time, they will be getting the green flag. Now, here's the situation on pit road. That's where most of the moisture is, and you can see the pit crews have come out and put down some oil dry in an effort to get some of that water up so that when their cars and drivers do come in for a stop, they won't run into any serious problem. Well, we get starting for this race now. They have completed 10 laps. When they come down now for the completion of lap number 11, they will be getting the green flag. 500 laps around this 1/2-mile high bank racetrack at Bristol, Tennessee. Here comes the field led by Jeff Bodine. And Bodine gets off to a very poor start. The green comes out from outside of row number 1. Neil Bonnet jumps off to a tremendous lead here, and there is something wrong with Jeff Bodine's car. He has fallen back into 4th position. Neil Bonnet will lead lap number 1 with Terry Labonte second. And Benny, as the cars went into corner number 1. Dale Earnhardt, who was in 3rd position, looked like got a little squirrely the back end of that car, getting around on him just a little bit.
But Dale Earnhardt did get a great start. He's up in 3rd already, starting in 6th spot. Looks like Earnhardt is going to continue where he left off at Bristol.
Any idea what happened to Jeff on that start?
No, I really don't have any idea. Simply because he right now seems to be running well. I thought maybe that he had found a spark plug in those 10 laps that they ran around there slow, but right now his car is running as well as anyone.
Jody Ridley in car number 75 nearly spun over in corner number 2 last lap. There he is.
He has a flat tire. His tire is flat. He needs to get the car inside and off the racetrack and make a pit stop.
No wonder it isn't handling properly. Jody Ridley, who has replaced Lake Speed in this number 75 car, is fighting it. You can see him trying to maintain control, and he is staying out there on the racetrack. All the other drivers behind him trying to get around, so it's going to be an early pit stop, it appears, for Jody Ridley, car number 75. Behind him, some bumping going on. That's Trevor Boyes in number 6 making contact with the number 81 car driven by Chet Phillip. Now Jody Ridley is down to the inside of the racetrack and coming in for a pit stop. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area for this call.
The Raymark team is waiting patiently. Jody Ridley presents the Pontiac, slides right through his pit, runs over the air hose. They're going to go to the outside tires. Right side tires, that seems to be where the problem is. They're changing those tires. He's up on the jack, and it'll be just precious, valuable moments here under green flag conditions. That is Jody Ridley's being stuck there on pit road. He's down, he's away, but he's several laps back.
And a perfect example of what it's like there on pit road as far as wetness is concerned, because he slid through that pit area. Neil Bonnet is the leader, and Terry Labonte is running in 2nd position. Here's what happened just a couple of laps ago.
He has a flat tire. It looks like the right rear tire is flat. He goes in the corner at top speed and just can't control it. Almost lost the car. Great job by Jody Ridley. And it's a shame because this was his first race for the new team, for the Nationwide Auto Parts team.
Well, lapping is already going on. Trevor Boyes has been lapped. The leaders are at the end of the backstretch now and about to put a lap on Jody Ridley. They come off of corner number 4. It's still Neil Bonnet showing the way. Labonte is 2nd. Then Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Bobby Allison running up there in front, along with Ricky Rudd, then Tim Richmond, Bill Elliott, and Harry Gant. Behind him, Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace in car number 20 has been lapped. The leaders are at the end of the backstretch now and about to put a lap on Jody Ridley. They come off of corner number 4. It's still Neil Bonnet showing the way. Labonte is 2nd. Then Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Bobby Allison running up there in front, along with Ricky Rudd, then Tim Richmond, Bill Elliott, and Harry Gant. Behind him, Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace in car number 27. 21 laps have been completed out of 500. The leader still trying to put another lap on Jody Ridley. Now they move to the outside of Ridley in turn number 1 and get the job done. Dale Earnhardt drives car number 3. Mike Waltrip is also having a bit of a problem as he's dropped that car to the inside of the racetrack. And there's smoke coming out of the left side of the car. Is that an engine problem or tires or what, Benny? Can you tell?
That is an engine problem because the smoke is coming from the exhaust pipe. And also Morgan Shepherd at the same time is coasting in on the back straightaway.
It does not look good for Morgan Shepherd, winning his 4th NASCAR race in a row. He won at Atlanta in Winston Cup. He won at Martinsville in Grand National, and he won in Grand National here at Bristol yesterday in an outstanding performance. But he is not in the car that he drove to victory lane in Atlanta. He's in the number 64 car, the Langley Racing Ford, and he has already been in for a pit stop in the early going of this one. There are the first 3 as we have completed 25 laps. The leader, Neil Bonnet, running 2nd is Terry Labonte, and 3rd is Dale Earnhardt.
Neil Bonnet came to Bristol and tested 2 days, came back 2 separate times, testing his automobile because, look, Neil Bonnet needs to get his team going. If anybody needs a victory in Winston Cup racing, it's Neil Bonnet and his Budweiser crew.
Neil has not won this year on the Winston Cup Trail and certainly would like to put a win under his belt here. Terry Labonte is staying right with him, though, at car number 44. Labonte started from 4th position. Now you see Dale Earnhardt going high on the racetrack and smoke coming from the right side of that car. And Benny, that's something we're going to be seeing a lot today. And and that simply indicates that they're scrubbing off rubber on the right side of the car.
Exactly right. Dale Earnhardt was smoking the right rear tire, which means that the car is a little bit too loose. In other words, the car is trying to spin out just a little bit as he goes through the turns.
Jeff Bodine in car number 5 is still running in 4th position after getting off to a very poor start when the green flag finally came out, but he is maintaining the position now, although Bobby Allison in car number 22 is right behind him. A good early showing for Bobby Allison, who has come up from 10th starting position to run in 5th.
Terry Labonte going to look on the outside of Neil Bonnet. Found nothing out there. Falls back in behind. You know, he was the only non-Chevrolet in the first 8 spots, the first 7 spots. Looks like he's got the Oldsmobile going very well today.
All right, now at this time last year in the race and at this time yesterday in the race, we had already seen some spins and some crashes, but we haven't yet. Might the drivers be taking it a little more careful out there at this point because of the possibility of a wet racetrack?
I would think that the rain certainly had a bearing on the way that these fellows are approaching it. Also, it is a 500-lap race, and yesterday it was only a 200-lap race. Makes a big difference.
The leaders are putting a lap on Butch Miller in car number 08, his first Winston Cup appearance. Of course, he is a veteran short track driver. Neil Bonnet maintains the lead now, and he is approaching a slower car, the number 17 of Doug Hebron, as they come off of turn number 4. Bonnet going to the outside of Hebron and putting a lap on him.
Neil Bonnet putting a few car lengths on Terry Labonte. Terry Labonte seems to be losing a little bit of momentum off the corner the last couple of laps.
Neil Bonnet, of course, from Hueytown, Alabama, driving for the Junior Johnson team again this year. He is currently 17th in 1986 Winston Cup points. His best finish of the year so far has been at Richmond, where he finished 7th. He also had a top 10 finish at Rockingham in the 500 there, but in the other 2 events so far this year, Neil Bonnet has fallen out of competition.
First 3 cars. Again, great race. Labonte goes up the racetrack. Earnhardt looks on the inside. No, he can't make it.
Earnhardt now looking to the inside of Terry Labonte, but again, Labonte pulls away as the cars come off of the corner and go down the backstretch. Earnhardt, one of those who competed in the Grand National race here yesterday afternoon. And so, of course, was Jeff Bodine, who crashed hard into the first turn wall after an incident with Larry Pollard here on the main straightaway. However, Bodine was able to walk away unhurt from that crash. There was also a crash earlier in that race yesterday involving Kenny Burks, and we did not update his condition when we left the air yesterday, but we understand that Kenny Burks is okay. There is Darrell Waltrip, who is Neil Bonnet's teammate, and Darrell Waltrip is a driver never to be counted out. He does not charge toward the front, but is always there when the checkered flag drops. He is currently 11th.
He's dropping back today. Not a good start for Darrell Waltrip. He will probably adjust the car and get it going. This is a fellow that's won like 7 out of the last 10 races here. This is not the place that he wants to be. Got problems. It looks like they're going to have to do some work on pit stops.
But again, this is a long race, and if you do lose a lap, you can make it up here at Bristol. The leader continues to be Neil Bonnet, with Terry Labonte running 2nd and Dale Earnhardt still running in 3rd spot. As we have observed Earnhardt in the early stages of this race, it would appear that perhaps the car isn't handling all that well. Look, he almost is sideways, completely sideways, coming off of the 4th corner.
Wow. Earnhardt, what a great job he did in saving that automobile.
Still maintain the position of 3rd. He has about 8 or 9 car lengths between himself and Jeff Bodine, who is running in 4th position. 42 laps have been completed in this 500-lap race, and we have had no yellows to this point. Let's hope we can run the entire race without a yellow, because yesterday's Grand National race was just filled with accidents. In fact, they ran about the first 30 or so laps without a green lap. Dale Earnhardt running 3rd, Labonte is 2nd. The leader is Neil Bonnet, and we'll be back with more of our coverage of the Valleydale 500.
There was some concern whether Darrell Waltrip was having a problem or not. Well, I've checked with Junior Johnson, and he says yes, Waltrip's car is pushing very badly, but there's nothing they can do about it until the first pit stop or the first caution. Gentlemen?
course, means that the car doesn't want to go around the corner the way that Darrell Waltrip would like for it to. He's running a higher groove, it appears, on the racetrack than most everybody else. The leader is his teammate Neil Bonnet in the number 12 Budweiser Chevrolet. He's going around the number 35 car of Alan Kulwicki on the backstretch. There are 22 cars currently on the lead lap with 52 laps completed.
We were talking about Darrell Waltrip from the car pushing. That's exactly the opposite of Dale Earnhardt. His car is loose. In other words, if Darrell Waltrip were to smoke a tire, it would be a right front tire. Earnhardt smokes the rear tire. There is Bill Elliott, car number 9. Tim Richmond, car 25.
And Bill Elliott is in 7th position. Tim Richmond in 8th at the moment. And it's been a very busy weekend for Bill Elliott. He competed also in the IMSA race at Road Atlanta. This weekend, he finished 4th in the GTO race, and he divided his time by private plane between here and Atlanta, and really wasn't here very much for practice or qualifying. He was, of course, concerned about competing in the race yesterday, but Bill Elliott right now running in 7th position. Tim Richmond right behind him. Car number 25 is 8th. Now, Dale Earnhardt has moved around the second place car of Terry Labonte, so Earnhardt is now 2nd and Labonte is 3rd. The lead continues to be held by, of course, Neil Bonnet. There is Tim Richmond in car number 25, who lost an engine in a practice session on Friday and was not very optimistic on Friday when we talked to him. However, he qualified well when he did get the car going, qualified 3rd fastest at 113.498 miles an hour. There is the leader, Neil Bonnet, who qualified at 113.545 miles an hour. Speaking of qualifying, this was yesterday when Willie T. Ribbs tried to qualify for this Winston Cup race here at Bristol. However, the speed just wasn't fast enough. Driving the Dygaard car, Willie T. could not get it up to speed and did not make the 32-car starting field. On Friday, he crashed that car, and so it's been a very tough weekend for Willie T., who is still trying to work his way into Winston Cup racing and become, I believe, the 3rd black driver in history to make a Winston Cup field.
Bob, I can't think of a tougher racetrack for any race driver to come up for his first attempt than Bristol. And it doesn't get any easier because next week, Willie T. goes to Darlington, South Carolina to try to qualify for the Trans-South 500. It is going to be very difficult for him the first 2 races. Then he goes to North Wilkesboro. He gets a break. That's a racetrack he probably will enjoy.
This is the battle for 2nd, and these guys are going at it tooth and nail out there. Dale Earnhardt at number 3 and Terry Labonte in 44. Last lap on turn number 2, Earnhardt with a very wide line, and again got the car a little bit sideways, and Labonte got underneath him, but Dale was able to keep the position. Earnhardt and Labonte here in 2nd and 3rd.
One reason that Terry Labonte wants by so badly is that the 12 car of Neil Bonnet is pulling away from him. And Labonte realizes that. He wants to get by Earnhardt because he is a little quicker right now.
It's just about a half a straightaway lead for Neil Bonnet. There is Earnhardt going high once again and allowing Labonte to sneak underneath. A smoking car here on the main straightaway is Davey Allison, number 95, and that appears to be
looks like a wheel bearing or something like that.
It's smoke anyway from the tire area, the right front tire area of that Davey Allison car. They're at it once again, almost side by side, down the backstretch into turn number 3. Earnhardt taking the car way high again, and Labonte keeps his low.
That's tough. Labonte right now has a little bit quicker car, but Earnhardt, you know, if Labonte gets by, that's a spot, and he don't want that to be so easy. Let Labonte work for it a little bit, and Terry's having to work for it.
While all this is going on, Neil Bonnet continues to set the pace and lengthen his advantage, as a matter of fact, on Earnhardt and Terry Labonte.
Earnhardt right now has found him a groove on the high side of the racetrack. He likes the way the car's sticking up there, and he's running a little bit faster up there than he was down below. We can see right now he has a car length or 2 on Terry Labonte. The problem with that is that he may end up with some tire problems. He's getting the grip is too good up on top of the racetrack. He better be careful not run too many laps up there.
We understand that a car making a nice move up through the field is Rusty Wallace, who is now in 8th position after having started 14th on the grid. We're watching right now this dice for 2nd position involving Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte. Earnhardt has won the last 2 races here at Bristol, and he is using a much higher groove on those corners than everybody else. And you can also see tire smoke on the right side of that car. There is Dale Earnhardt, and right behind him Terry Labonte, formerly from Corpus Christi, Texas, now living in the North Carolina area. Still no yellows. 70 laps have been completed. Bonnet passing Tommy Ellis in corner number 4, and we asked Neil Bonnet about the discipline that you must have at a racetrack like this.
Neil, you say the key to winning here is discipline, and yet you have also said in the past that that might be your weak point, being undisciplined.
I'm going to be disciplined. If somebody beats on that back bumper, I'm going to beat on them. It's, you know, I feel like I know what I need to do going into this race, but if somebody wants to come up here and hammer on my race car, I'm going to hammer back, and that's the problem. I've got to control that in this race. I'll take a little bit of pushing and shoving, but I'm also going to dish it out. Just hopefully I can restrain myself enough to be able to have some race car left.
Neil Bonnet from Hueytown, Alabama, one of those drivers who certainly needs a win. The Junior Johnson team, of course, known for winning, but Neil Bonnet has not visited the victory circle in quite a few races. And oh, look at this, he hits the wall in corner number 2. It looked like a tire went down, Benny, and he just headed straight for the outside wall.
It sure did. Exactly. It looked like he blew a right front tire, and there's some heavy damage to that automobile. And, you know, Neil Bonnet doesn't need this. He did the same thing in Atlanta, blew a tire the last race 3 weeks ago. Boy, I tell you, what a terrible blow. I hope Neil's okay this time.
Well, the car is against the outside wall at the entrance to the backstretch, and Neil has not climbed out of it yet. You can see him sitting in there. Let's hope that he wasn't injured when that car just suddenly shot to the right and into the concrete wall here.
Looks like he's moving around. Yes, he is moving around. Looks like he's checking the rearview mirror. Well, I hope he's okay.
Here's a replay of it. Neil Bonnet, Ron Bouchard is the car right ahead of him, and it appeared as if he was making the move on Bouchard or about to go to the outside when something happened. Yeah, the left front smoked. I guess that was... No, there's something in the left front. I don't know if he has blown an engine or... I don't... Maybe just the brakes that was... Maybe it was just the brakes that he locked up when he anticipated the right front tire going down. Well, in any case, the driver who led the first 74 laps has crashed. There is a lot of pit activity here on the main straightaway and in the backstretch, but our major concern right now is the condition of Neil Bonnet. He appears to be conscious and may be talking to the safety worker there, but on the other hand, he may have suffered some kind of injury. They are signaling for the ambulance. We'll take another look at what happened as Bonnet went into corner number 1.
The car just, something happens to the left front of the automobile. I don't know exactly what it is, but oh, that I feel that through every bone in my body, because believe me, I have done that so many times.
Well, there is Neil out of the car, but he is definitely groggy and you can see the grimace on his face indicating that he is in pain. Jack, what do you know about this down in the pit area?
We're down here in the pits looking at Neil Bonnet, and I've got Doug Reichert, who is the crew chief on the car. Doug, what did Neil report when before he got out of the car?
Well, he hit the wall very, very hard, Jackie. Right now he's complaining about maybe some possible head injuries, really hurting him pretty bad. So we come over here to see if we couldn't see what was going on with him.
So the entire team is over here being dispatched to check on the condition of their driver. I'll try to make my way over to him. Unfortunately, he's still resting up against the racing wall, the outside pit wall, kind of no man's land here on pit road. We've got a little better vantage point now, taking a look at him, and it's obvious that he is in a certain degree of pain. Tim Brewer, who is also the team manager for the car, is over there instructing the NASCAR officials what to do. So, gentlemen, we'll check on it. We'll stay here and get back to you with more information as it becomes available.
Well, he did run across the track under his own power, but as you can see, he is seated now on the pit wall and appears to be in either some kind of pain or at the worst, he's just had his bell rung pretty good because he did take a hard shot to that outside wall. He's being escorted across the pit area there in the back, and we will hopefully have a word for him in a few moments. We'll be back in a moment.
He's made his way to the back pits here. Neil, first of all, are you okay?
I don't know. The throttle hung wide open. I backed out of the gas, and the car just kept pulling, and I was standing on the brake and just kept going straight.
You stayed in the car for so very long, though. Did you get knocked out?
Well, I thought I was, but I couldn't get any help out there, so I just had to get out.
Well, we're going to let him go off to the medical attention here at Bristol International Raceway and throw it back up to you people.
All right, Jack, thank you very much. Once again, Neil has mentioned the fact that he's not as pleased as he could be with the speed of the medical teams at some of the NASCAR Winston Cup races, Vinny.
Well, I understand exactly what he's talking about. He was sitting there, he was hurting. The only problem that I got is that he can't get the other 30 or 31 guys out there to slow down well enough for the medical guys to get out there. Look at that race car, the right rear tire.
Yeah, it's pretty well damaged on the, especially on the front end of the car. Neil Bonnet had led laps 12 through 75, a total of 63 laps. He was in the lead when this accident occurred. But Neil Bonnet is for now being taken to the infield hospital to be checked over. We hope that his condition will be recorded as okay. 81 laps completed now, and we'll be right back. It's about to come out once again on Bristol International Raceway, and this 500-lap event resumed. There's the green, and now Dale Earnhardt is in command after that accident involving our leader, Neil Bonnet. Second place is Terry Labonte. Third is Ricky Rudd, and Rudd is on the inside of Terry Labonte, giving him a challenge for second position. We do have an in-car camera in Joe Ruttman's number 26. We've been having some difficulty with it, but now we believe we have the problem straightened out, and there is the view from inside the number 26 car that Joe Ruttman drives.
That's Tommy Ellis in the Freelander car right in front of him. Look the way Tommy Ellis' car moves around going through the turns.
This is 13th and 14th position. Tommy is in 13th, and our in-car camera carried by Joe Ruttman in 14th position.
See him going down the straightaway. When they get to the turn, they'll duck down right to the bottom of the racetrack. Now they go up just a little bit. Exiting turn 2, right on the bottom of the racetrack, back up to the outside retaining wall. Now, turn 3, right on the bottom. Ruttman's going to try on the outside of Tommy Ellis. He can't make it.
And, Benny, we have noticed some of the cars bottoming out, especially going into corner number 1.
Yes, they are. The bumps going in turns 1 and turn 3 are rough, and the cars will bottom out.
You know, one of the things that you think about when you see the in-car camera is how short a lap is here. 16 seconds, and in that time, you go down 2 straightaways and you get into 2 corners, and it just seems like that you would lose all perspective of where you are and what's going on around you.
At these speeds, sometimes you do get disorganized and really truly don't understand which corner you're going through, either 1, 2, 3, or 4. There we see Joe Ruttman again, still trying to get by Tommy Ellis. Tommy Ellis was lapped a moment ago by the 12 car by Neil Bonnet, but when Neil crashed, Tommy Ellis was able to get that lap back, so he's in the lead lap.
Back up front, it is Dale Earnhardt leading the race. Labonte, then Rudd, then Waltrip, then Elliott, and then this man who is running very strong here in the early going of this race, Richard Petty in car number 43, the STP Pontiac. He is in 6th position, and Richard Petty started this race from 11th spot, so he's done well here in the first 91 laps.
Richard Petty has been running extremely strong, and the 4th place car right now, Darrell Waltrip, we talked about earlier on, he did have a chassis problem. The car was pushing a little bit too much, but he's been able to make a pit stop. They've adjusted the car. It looks like his car right now is as fast as anyone's.
Richard Petty with 200 wins on the Winston Cup Trail, and our word from spotters located throughout this racing arena is that we are beginning to see a few drops of rain fall once again. Now, of course, they must complete 250 of the 500 laps, 251 laps, as a matter of fact, before this race can be declared a full race. We're a long way from that point. Let's hope that the rain can stay away and we can get this event in. But it rained hard here this morning and delayed the start of this event for a little over an hour.
Dale Earnhardt put a few car links on Terry Labonte on the first couple of laps a moment ago, but Labonte right on the back bumper of the 3-car. Earnhardt got his hands full to stay up. Ricky Rudd in the 4th. He's going to try Terry Labonte off turn 2.
Ricky Rudd trying the inside, but not able to take this spot away from Terry Labonte. And talk about a team that needs to do well. Ricky Rudd has not had a particularly great season so far. His best finish at 11th in the very first race at Daytona. And it's been a situation in which that Ford has dropped out of the other races. And Bud Moore, his crew chief, is not here this weekend. And it's the first race that he has missed since 1972. Greg Moore, his son, is acting as crew chief on the Ricky Rudd machine.
Looked like Labonte and Earnhardt got together momentarily coming off turn 4 just a moment ago. Both were able to straighten their car out to continue on. Terry Labonte, car running extremely strong today. His car all year, the Oldsmobile, has been strong.
And of course, you are also driving an Oldsmobile this year. Have you been pleased with its performance?
Yes, I have. But I tell you, this fellow Labonte has been putting a lot of pressure on us because everywhere he goes, he runs well. That means an Oldsmobile will do it. We just got to figure out how.
Next week, when we visit Darlington International Raceway, Benny will not be in the broadcast booth, but will be on the racetrack competing. And we hope you do well next weekend at Darlington when we present the Trans-South 500 from that very famous and exciting racetrack.
Well, I'm going to come up on Saturday and work for you doing the Grand National race just to keep you fellows straight.
No, we appreciate that. Labonte now to the inside once again, but unable to pass Dale Earnhardt. They put another lap on Trevor Boys in car number 6. There is Rudd also to the high side of the racetrack, and right behind Rudd is Darrell Waltrip. And if Waltrip did have a handling problem in the early going, he appears to have solved that problem at this point. Jeff Bodine, who was one of those who made a pit stop during the yellow flag we had for the Neil Bonnet accident, is moving back up through traffic.
But he is having some problems. This is a pole sitter, and he was 1 mile per hour faster than anyone else. And right now he is drifting back. He's in 9th spot. And really, it's a poor 9th. He's got some serious problems that he's going to have to adjust on some pit stops.
And he drops off the pace. And Kyle Petty passes him. He is definitely slowing down and maybe coming into the pits. Yes, he is. Jeff Bodine, our pole sitter, heads for pit road. Now, again, we remind you that it's very, very wet. Down to a crash here on the main straightaway. Bobby Hillin Jr.'s car is on fire and hits the wall. Now another car involved. Dave Marcus spun, and Eddie Birschwall hit him. Bobby Hillin also involved. Hillin's car is against the outside retaining wall, and Dave Marcus and Eddie Birschwall's cars are on the infield in turn number 1. Wow. The accident occurred as the cars came off of corner number 4, and the first impact with the wall, I believe, was with Bobby Hillin on the inside. And then Marcus also in the wall, and Ernie Birschwall T-boned Marcus as the car slid down into that first corner area.
Jeff Bodine got a break, you know, at the expense of someone else, but that's the way it is in stock car racing. But we saw him coming down pit road. There we see Bobby Hillin moving around, talking to the fellow. Looks like he is okay. But
the safety crew is right there, we might mention, on this accident.
Yes, they sure are. But Jeff Bodine started down pit road, as we saw on our camera a moment ago. When the caution came out, when these two fellows crashed, Gary Nelson, his crew chief, very wise. They sent him right back on the racetrack, so he's able to make a free pit stop. Jackie Root has something else to add to it.
Well, I'm looking at all 3 cars from my vantage point right now. First, let's update you on Bobby Hillin. Hillin is still inside the car. An ambulance attendant is administering to him with the window net down. Now, taking a look at Eddie Birschwall's machine, Eddie is okay. He is out of the car, walking around the Kodak Pontiac. He's going to go up, in fact, and check on the condition of Dave Marcus, who is also still located inside of his automobile. As soon as they come our way, we'll try and get a word with one of the 3.
There's Dave Marcus. He appears to be okay. He's unstrapping himself, unhooking the radio, and I think will be climbing out of that car. And there is Eddie Burschwall, who is already climbed out of his car, and he appears to be in real good shape. He's explaining what happened to members of his pit crew. We have a replay of it, and you can see that initial impact has already been made, and Hillen's car heads right straight up the bank with a little bit of fire coming from it, and then Burschwall to the bottom right of your screen making contact with Marcus.
Well, the problem that Burschwall had is the 17 car, Doug Hevron, was slowed naturally to try to miss the accident, and they were heading for the same spot. Burschwall, rather than try to hit the 17, tried to try to miss the cars on the bottom of the racetrack. Unfortunately, Dave Marcus spun right down to where he was going.
Bobby Hillen runs down the bank and appears to be okay. Now let's take another look at it from another camera angle, and this was the initial contact. There is Jeff Bodine coming into the pits on the bottom. At the top of your screen, watch the number 98 car. That is Ron Bouchard, who may have had a hand in what happened behind him. There is Dave Marcus' car, and they're putting it on the hook. So all drivers now are out of their cars and appear to be okay. Bobby Hillen ran down the bank and will probably be taken to the infield hospital.
That fellow you see in the blue coveralls laying on the car, if I'm not
taken to the infield hospital.
That fellow you see in the blue coveralls laying on the car, if I'm not mistaken, it is Dave Marcus, showing the fellows where to hook the hooks on the wrecker to, so they won't injure the car any more than it is. Jackaroo?
Benny, I'm here with the fellow that came out of the Miller American number 8, Bobby Hillen. Bobby, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, I guess somebody got tangled up with Ron Bouchard, and I went low to avoid him and hit that water, and the car just accelerated into the wall. And, you know, I'd just like to thank Miller and All-Pro and Buick and Stavola Brothers and everybody that's put this deal together. We're just going to keep fighting and trying to win a race someday.
On a short track like this, in an accident, when it unfolds as quickly as it does, is there much that you as a driver can do?
Well, I couldn't get your whole question, but, you know, there's not a lot you can do. You don't have much room to work with, especially when the inside of the track is so wet, because you go to avoid it and you hit the water, the car just accelerates, you have no control. So, you know, really, there's not a whole lot you can do. We just hope for better luck next time.
We hope for it, too. And Benny and Bob, remember, that's one of the things we brought up at the top of the telecast, how the rain and the precipitation here could cause problems.
You're absolutely right. Thanks, Jack. And we certainly hope that Bobby is going to be okay. There is Ron Bouchard, who I guess had a hand in exactly what happened and causing the accident behind him, but his car looks no worse for the wear.
I think there was a tire mark on the left front of the automobile of Ron Bouchard. The Pontiac, the Valvoline Pontiac on the right of the left front tire, I think, has a problem.
Okay, 109 laps have been completed, just a little more than 1/5 of this race over. 2 yellows so far, and we'll be back with more after this. Season NHL action, and ESPN presents live the showdown for the Patrick Division Championship. Washington against Philadelphia. Besides a divisional championship, of course, the winner of tonight's game will have a home ice advantage throughout the early part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It all begins this evening at 7:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. You can see how close that race for the Patrick Division Championship is, with the Flyers leading by just 2, or rather 1 point over Washington. So it should be a good game tonight at 7:30 here on ESPN. Well, we have a tremendous crowd on hand here at Bristol, and not all of them are seated in the grandstand. There are some watching the race from a hill on the backstretch side of this racetrack.
It's unbelievable just how many people is there. I bet there's 2,000 people on that hill overlooking the racetrack, and I'm not sure they paid to get in.
Well, I don't think they have. The grandstand is full here. It's definitely a sellout at Bristol. But there are, as you said, a couple of thousand people up there on the hill watching this race. Well, Tim Richmond was somewhat involved in this most recent crash here. We're going to go green in one more lap. We'll try to get a very brief word with Tim on what happened.
Behind 9, I think, yeah. 26, that's right.
Well, he's talking with his crew right now, so we will not be able to talk with Tim right at the moment. However, Jack Arute has moved down to that first turn area and is with Eddie Burschwall and Dave Marcus, the other 2 drivers involved in those most recent crash.
Here here with the other two casualties from that accident. Eddie Bierswale on my left. Eddie, are you all right?
Yeah, Jackie, we're all right. Pulled the car up tonight. We got it running real good. We started off loose in the race. We had that pit stop. Got it tightened up. We were running real good. And, somebody started crashing on the straightaway and had everything missed. Somebody hit Dave, knocked him in. I mean, I got it pretty good.
Well, Dave Marcus, who is on my right, you said somebody spun and you thought you were past the accident.
Well, Jackie, Tim Richmond got up in the Ron Bouchard, got him up in the wall, and I seen it happening. I slowed down for it. Pretty well thought I was clear, and someone got into me from the rear and started me spinning. When I came down off the apron, there was really no place for Eddie to go. I seen him coming, and he just hit me.
We've got a lot of bench sheet metal down here, but the drivers are okay.
So a couple of real serious-looking accidents here in the first 110 laps of this race, but luckily no driver injuries. The leader is Dale Earnhardt, and he has now lengthened up his lead quite a bit over Terry Labonte. Still running in third place is Ricky Rudd. Fourth is Darrell Waltrip. Fifth now is Richard Petty. And sixth is Harry Gant. Seventh is Rusty Wallace. In eighth position is Bobby Allison. Ninth is Kyle Petty. And 10th is Bill Elliott. Now, Rusty Wallace is running in the top 10, and he came into this race about as optimistic as anybody. He not only said he was going to win this race today, but he said he was going to dominate it, and we'll keep an eye on him in the number 27 Alucard Pontiac.
It looks like that Terry Labonte has trouble getting going the first 2 or 3 laps in his Oldsmobile. Right now, it looks like it's time for him to go, but the first 2 or 3 laps after the green flag, Earnhardt goes ahead and puts a few car lengths on him. Right now, Ricky Rudd giving Terry Labonte all he wants.
Well, Benny, as we've watched the first 125 laps of this race, what do you think about the chassis setups? It seems to me that it's a very difficult job to get the car set up for this racetrack. There is, by the way, is Rusty Wallace, who is racing with Harry Gant for 6th position.
I think that most everyone today missed the combination. I know we certainly know Darrell Waltrip did, and we know that Jeff Bodine did. It looks like most of the cars missed the combination. Although they have now made a couple of pit stops, they've been adjusted. By the last 200 laps of the race, they'll get them going, and it's hard to say right now who has the best race car.
All right, when you talk about making adjustments now, we're talking about the stagger and the wedge and that type of thing.
Exactly right. They can change the tires and actually change the chassis itself.
Harry Gant and Rusty Wallace, 6th and 7th here. You can see that smoke coming off the right rear of the Harry Gant car as he tries his best to stay ahead of Rusty Wallace, who is certainly putting some heat on him. Wallace looking to the inside in the second corner, going down the backstretch now. Rusty Wallace, never a winner in Winston Cup competition, and he was extremely optimistic going into this race. But of course, Rusty is no stranger to victory lane, as he is one of the real outstanding short track drivers in some of the other divisions, the ASA division, the All-Pro division, and others. Rusty Wallace from St. Louis, Missouri. Now sneaking right up on Harry Gant, and looks like he had to hit the brakes there to avoid hitting Harry in the rear end.
Rusty Wallace is getting through turns 3 and 4 about as well as anybody on the racetrack right now. 1 and 2, Harry Gant is able to maintain his lead, but when they go in the middle of 3 and 4, watch Rusty Wallace come right up on his back bumper.
There
he's going to try him.
Off of the 4th corner, but again, as they come off the corner, Harry Gant with a horsepower advantage, it appears, and able to hang on to that 6th spot. But this is good racing here. Bill Elliott, by the way, in car number 9. He is the car right behind Rusty Wallace, has moved from 11th to 8th since the green flag fell on the restart. So Bill Elliott, who finished 4th in the GTO race yesterday at Road Atlanta, Road Atlanta is in the 11th, as in the 8th spot at the moment. Of course, Bill went to Road Atlanta, Benny, to gain some experience on the road courses in anticipation of the L and R Series, and you've also done some road racing this year.
Yes, I was down in Sebring, Florida for the 12-hour race, driving Tex Powell's little Oldsmobile, sponsored by Skoal. And we're also going to run the GTO race in Charlotte. I think it's a 300-kilometer race, May 18th or some Sunday. I think it's the same Sunday that the Winston Cup drivers are in Dover, Delaware.
What do you like, and what do you think about road racing? You like it?
Oh, I enjoy it. You know, unfortunately, road racing is not a spectator sport. It's not as much a spectator sport as oval track racing is, but for the competitor, it is fantastic. right, left, shifting, braking. It's so much fun, Bob.
Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, running in 8th position. Ahead of him, Rusty Wallace and Harry Gant. Elliott, another one of those who has not visited victory lane this year. As a matter of fact, has not won since last year at Darlington when he won the $1 million.
He won Atlanta last fall.
He did. That's correct.
Atlanta race.
That's correct. Elliott did win Atlanta. And his best finishes this year, a 7th at Rockingham and a 5th at Atlanta. The pace continues to be set by Dale Earnhardt.
But look how much closer Terry Labonte is right now than he was a few laps ago. When they throw the green flag, Earnhardt shoots out there, but in a few laps, it looks like his car gets loose. Labonte's car is a little bit too tight when they throw the green flag, but in a few laps, his car is probably the best setup car on the racetrack right now, if it's not Ricky Rudd's car.
Jeff Bodine, as you recall, was coming in for a pit stop when the accident occurred here in corner number 1, and they have made some adjustments to that car. Does it appear to be working better, Benny?
It looks like it is, but, you know, it's hard to tell right now. He's going up the racetrack, I think, a little bit more than he would like to be. I don't think it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There, the car's staying on the bottom of the racetrack very well, but in 1 and 2, he's having problems going up the racetrack. That's the Tim Richmond car and his car are both owned by Rick Hendrick out of Charlotte, North Carolina. There's Joe Ruttman looking out his back window at Richmond and Jeff Bodine. We see the right front tire smoke severely on the Bodine automobile turns 3 and 4. He passes Tim Richmond on the outside coming off turn 4.
So Jeff Bodine now moves to 12th position and Tim Richmond back to 13th. Our in-car camera carried by Joe Ruttman. That machine running at 11th spot. And, of course, the Joe Ruttman car, the number 26 Quaker State machine, is owned by drag racing standout Kenny Bernstein. And we had an opportunity to accompany Kenny on the flight from Atlanta down here last Thursday. And he is very optimistic that the problems that they have had here in the early going of the season have been corrected. It's been mostly an overheating problem that has plagued this team, but Kenny assures us that an overheating problem has been corrected. And Larry McReynolds, the crew chief on that car, hopes to have it in victory lane here today. All right, 143 laps have been completed, and the lead continues to be held by Dale Earnhardt. We've only had 2 leaders in this race, Neil Bonnet, who crashed while leading, and then Dale Earnhardt took over and is holding it, but still having a challenge by Terry Labonte.
There we see Richard Petty, and I tell you that he still has all the fans here. Just a moment ago, he passed Darrell Waltrip, and the place erupted. Everyone here stood up and cheered, clapped, and Richard is on the move. He's coming right. He's 4th spot right now, right in behind the 15 car of Ricky Rudd. This might be 201 today.
It could be. We talked to him earlier about when 201 was going to come, and he said, well, it could very well be this weekend. He was another one of those drivers that had such high hopes when the season started with the new Pontiac and the configuration of that car there in the rear end, and he had hoped to do very, very well this year, and certainly is turning in his best performance of 1986 here at Bristol. He hit the wall rather hard during the Daytona 500 and sustained some rib injuries, but he is looking very, very good here at Bristol. Earnhardt is the leader with Terry Labonte second, Ricky Rudd third, and then Darrell Waltrip will be a Raceway where an accident has knocked out Ronnie Thomas, and he has been taken from that car and is on a stretcher now, will be loaded into the ambulance. Benny, it appeared to be probably a leg injury that Ronnie sustained.
He looked like that's the problem he was having, was with his leg. They carried him from the car. He was talking to him and what have you, but it looked like that his legs was that he couldn't walk. And I tell you what, he almost, it looks like he cut that car into. What a terribly hard blow to the right front.
Yeah, he made initial impact on turn number 3. It again appeared that something broke on the car, and the car went right into the wall. Then he hit it pretty good again as the car came off of the 4th corner and onto the main straightaway. He was conscious, however, and is in the ambulance now to be taken for observation.
A good indication that there was something, that he was hurt. The accident happened going in turn 3. The car stopped. We see the car sitting there right now. It's in turn 2. He almost made a lap with that car, and that tells me that he was unable to reach down and hit the brake.
And the word from our observers down there is that it indeed is a leg injury sustained by Ronnie Thomas, and it's too bad because he's such a likable young man and trying to make his mark in this type of racing and doing so on a very limited budget.
There was an accident here yesterday. If you watched our show last night, you saw Kenny Burks was carried out in an ambulance, and the upgrade on him is that he did have a cut on his lip, which they stitched up and released him from the hospital last night.
We're certainly concerned about him because he rear-ended another car very, very hard here on the main straightaway, but fortunately no serious injuries. There is Jeff Bodine in car number 5. Now, Jeff comes out of all this. Of course, there was a flurry of pit stop activity when the yellow came on because of the Ronnie Thomas crash. And through all of this, Jeff Bodine has found himself back in the lead. And he has had a assortment of problems here, especially with the handling of that car. But if they have that car fixed now, he could very definitely dominate this race here for a while.
Tell you what, I think it's a serious mistake for him not to pit, because he has been about 60 laps since he pitted last. All of his competition is sitting right behind him with 4 new tires. I think Jeff Bodine's got problems.
He has not pitted under this caution, and so that's the reason that he is in the lead at this point. Well, this Bristol 10 or 15 car lengths back to Ricky Rudd, who is currently in 4th position. Well, we're approaching the halfway point. 250 is halfway. We're at 224 of the Valleydale 500. April 12th at 1:30 Eastern Time live. We will have the Dixie Cup 200 Grand National Race from Darlington International Raceway. Now, Morgan Shepherd has won the last 2 Grand National events. He won at Martinsville a couple of weeks ago. He won yesterday here at Bristol. And he certainly has to be the favorite going into next Saturday's Grand National race. And from past experience, Grand National cars on that racetrack provide some of the most exciting racing that I have ever seen. Join us live at 1:30 next Saturday. Well, they continue to run in the same order. It's Terry Labonte leading the Valleydale 500 here at Bristol. 2nd position, still a very tight contest between Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace. Wallace has been hanging back there in 3rd for the last 20-25 laps, and he challenges every once in a while, but just can't seem to get the job done.
Tell you what, this is exactly like NASCAR would. Oh, Rusty Wallace going to try it on the outside of the 3-car, Dale Earnhardt, and he's making it.
Oh, Rusty Wallace with an outstanding job coming off the corner, just going by Dale Earnhardt. And I believe that Rusty's optimism is very well justified as he moves into 2nd. Jeff Bodine's problems continue. Our pole sitter, who had a bad start and who has had handling problems all afternoon, was in 7th, but now he's in for a pit stop. Gary Nelson, the crew chief, on that car, looking it over closely. Tim Richmond and Kyle Petty are also having a good battle out there on the racetrack. This is for 12th spot. Richmond right now in 12th and Kyle 13th. Tim has really not been overly impressive today. He was the 3rd fastest qualifier, but is right now running in 12th place.
Tim Richmond has had trouble getting the thing going all day long. As we look at Tim Richmond and Kyle Petty, Jeff Bodine, the pole sitter, is back on the racetrack, although it looks like his car is going very slowly down the back straightaway.
He has pulled out onto the race course, but it's
look at this.
Oh, now look at Rusty Wallace, who has closed in on Terry Labonte. And look at Rusty shoot to the outside. Terry takes him high. Rusty's going to have to back off and hit the brakes. But now let's see what happens into turn 3. Wallace alongside him. Oh, what an outstanding performance by Rusty Wallace. They cross the line, and Rusty Wallace has the lead.
Wow, right on the outside of Labonte. And you're right, it looked like he was going to have to hit the brakes going down the back straightaway coming off turn 2. He said, This may be the first time he's taken the lead in competition this year.
Well, I'll tell you, he has done it in impressive style, too. Not only did he pass Dale Earnhardt, who's running 2nd, and you know Dale Earnhardt's performance here at Bristol, but then he moved up, reeled in, and passed the leader, Terry Labonte, and Rusty Wallace is leading this race here at Bristol this afternoon.
Looks like Barry Dodson and his crew have done their homework. Jack Arute is down in the pit area.
To update you on the condition of Jeff Bodine's machine, well, it's just a matter of time before he parks it behind the wall. Terminal engine problems. They lifted the hood, as you saw the last time when he was in the pits. Last time by, he radioed to Gary Nelson. It's not going to go much further. He said, 10-4, bring it in.
Well, he's running very slowly down the backstretch, Jack, and I think maybe this is his final lap because that car is just not going anywhere. He's very low in turn number 4 now and appears to be coming in. Yes, he is. Jeff Bodine comes into the pits. A tough break for the winner of this year's Daytona 500.
And you would wonder why that he made those slow laps around the racetrack. These fellas, as long as these cars will move, will keep trying to make laps because of the point standings. You showed a graphic just a moment ago that the leader at the halfway point, $150,000. At the end of the season, $250,000 for the guy who's in front. They're trying to get every possible point they can, Bob.
Well, Rusty Wallace is opening up a little bit of a lead here. He's got traffic in front of him. There's Chet Phillip, also Doug Hebron, and Alan Kowicki right ahead of him. He goes high on the racetrack, passes Chet Phillip without any problem. Now Doug Hebron in car number 17 is the car that he needs to pass, going down the backstretch, putting another lap on Doug Hebron. And next will be Alan Kowicki, but he's opened up almost a half a straightaway lead on Terry Labonte. Rusty Wallace is. We'll be right back. Bristol International Raceway, where we're presenting the Winston Cup Valleydale 500. At the halfway point of this race, Rusty Wallace the leader, and he has put himself there in fine form, passing both Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte with no problem. His lead is now a little more than 4 seconds, and he has even lengthened that a little bit more since we timed him. Second place is Terry Labonte, and third is Dale Earnhardt. Our mid-race recap shows us that the average speed 81.64 miles an hour. We have had 6 leaders, 8 lead changes, 5 caution periods for a total of 47 laps. The leaders, Jeff Bodine, led laps 1 through 11, which were run under caution because of a wet racetrack. Then Neil Bonnet led until he crashed. Dale Earnhardt took over the lead. Then Bobby Hillin Jr. led for a lap. Earnhardt once again, 77 through 161. Jeff Bodine took over the lead for a few more laps. Earnhardt again, then Terry Labonte, and Rusty Wallace took over at lap 240. The drivers out of the race. These drivers because of accidents: Eddie Bierschwal, Dave Marcus, and Bobby Hillin Jr. Morgan Shepherd has also dropped out. So has Mike Waltrip. Neil Bonnet crashed. Jeff Bodine, Ronnie Thomas, Ron Bouchard, and the most recent driver to drop out of competition, Joe Ruttman. He is with Jack in the pit area.
And Joe is still staying strapped in his Quaker State machine. Joe, what is taking you out of the race so far?
Well, Jackie, it appears the upper control arm that holds the right front wheel on is broken. And the only way I could tell is by the way the car steered. And I think you might be able to get a shot of it out in the front of the car that the shaft on the right front upper control arm broke. And I could feel it in the steering. And so we thought maybe it was a tire. And when we determined it wasn't the tire, then we decided we better take a look at something mechanical.
Well, this is not the type of place that you want to run without an upper control arm. Gentlemen?
That's for sure. The tide-high banks of Bristol, very demanding. We have had a change of second position in the last couple of laps. Dale Earnhardt has moved around Terry Labonte, so Earnhardt is now second. Terry Labonte is third. Bill Elliott runs fourth, and Darrell Waltrip runs in fifth position. About a half a race to go. We'll be back with more race going on the track, but it isn't for the lead as Rusty Wallace has really opened up the advantage. He is now more than 7 seconds ahead of second place Dale Earnhardt. A very impressive performance by Rusty Wallace. Second place is Earnhardt. Third is Terry Labonte. Then we get back to this race. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh right here. Bill Elliott high on the racetrack. Darrell Waltrip on the inside. We could have a change of position right here. No, Elliott hangs on to the spot for the moment at least. Harry Gant is right behind Darrell Waltrip, and then Ricky Rudd. Waltrip and Elliott once again side by side.
The problem is that all these cars are trying to run the same spot on the racetrack, a little bit high. We see Bill Elliott and Darrell Waltrip both go up. Harry Gant tried on the low side that time, but all of them want to run up on the top of the racetrack. And when you do that, it's just simply follow the leader. Ricky Rudd is the fellow that's really been trying to get by. He's the one back in 7th spot on the right-hand side of the screen. He's been trying real hard to get by Harry Gant, but he's had no luck so far.
Well, we have a Pontiac in the lead, Benny, and Earnhardt Chevy in second position. Then the Oldsmobile by Terry Labonte. Then we get back to fourth and find a Ford. Now, Fords have not been all that impressive on short tracks. Kyle Petty's win at Richmond earlier this year, the Wood Brothers Ford, was only the first win for Ford on a short track since Ricky Rudd did it in Richmond in 1984. The last time a Ford won here at Bristol was in 1971 when, who was it?
David Pearson.
Very good. Drove a Holman Moody car into victory lane in the Valleydale 500.
See, you really didn't know the answer to that. That's why you asked.
I was just testing your knowledge.
Ricky Rudd's Ford and Bill Elliott. 2 Fords, 2 Chevrolets right there. Bill Elliott on the left, number 9. Darrell Waltrip, number 11. And then Harry Gant, 33. And 15, Ricky Rudd. As I said a moment ago, unfortunately, they all need to run in the same spot on the racetrack to get around it with the best speed.
Now Rudd looking like he wanted to challenge Harry Gant there coming off the second corner, but they go single file once again. Now Rudd to the low side in turn number 4, moving alongside Harry Gant. They cross the finish line, and Gant with about a half car length advantage there on Rudd. The cars go high. Looks like they're maybe using a higher groove in 3 than they were early in the race.
Darrell Waltrip trying Bill Elliott and going in turn 3 right on the bottom of the racetrack. Elliott goes high, Waltrip on the bottom, side by side as he exits turn 4. Bill Elliott beats him to the line.
Waltrip running side by side, and Waltrip has him coming off the second corner.
Looks like Waltrip has the spot.
Waltrip into fourth now, Elliott to fifth. Let's see if Harry Gant can also pass Bill Elliott here. Gant to the inside of Elliott in turn 4. He's certainly going to make a challenge, but maybe not right at the moment.
He saw Darrell Waltrip make that move on the inside. He said, what the heck, I got a Chevrolet. If he can do that, so can I. But he wasn't quite as successful as Darrell Waltrip.
Good racing here, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Now Ricky Rudd takes his Ford high, but falls in behind Harry Gant once again.
Now they're all going to try the bottom of the racetrack. Since Darrell had some success down there, they said, well, maybe it's a little faster down there. They all move back. Right now, we can see that all these drivers are really hunting and searching for the best way around the racetrack for their car.
There is Waltrip, and not too far ahead of Waltrip is Terry Labonte, who's in 3rd position now. Rudd and Harry Gant are side by side once again. They're coming off the second corner. Rudd moves low on the racetrack here in 3 and 4. You can see that Joe Ruttman in car number 26, who's right behind Ricky Rudd, has made it back out onto the racetrack. Now Rudd and Gant are still going at it out there for position down the backstretch.
Once again, Rudd on the bottom, Harry Gant on the outside. One thing, when you run on the top side of the racetrack, you get so much more momentum because as you exit these turns, Bob, you have to drive uphill to get out of the corner. When you run high, it's more of a level transition from the middle of the corner to the straightaway, so therefore you don't lose as many RPMs.
So we watch this battle here involving Ricky Rudd and Harry Gant. Now Gant is
That's Joe Ruttman right there.
Putting a little bit of racetrack between himself and Ricky Rudd as Joe Ruttman is running alongside of Ricky Rudd now. But of course, Ruttman is well off the pace, having come in for a lengthy pit stop. 300 laps have been completed. We have 200 to go in the Valleydale 500. Now we see Harry Gant moving to the high side of Bill Elliott. And Gant smokes the tires on the right side. Got a little bit sideways up there in the corner.
Boy, did he smoke the tires. Looked like they were on fire. They smoked so bad. Oh, here he goes by Bill Elliott on the outside.
And Gant grabs the spot high on the racetrack. Again, those tires are smoking on the right side, but I believe he has the position cleanly.
Sure does.
He does indeed. Harry Gant moving into 5th spot. So the standings now, Wallace in the lead, Dale Earnhardt second, then Labonte, then Waltrip, then Gant, Rudd, and Elliott.
Second spot, third spot. You see Joe Ruttman, he's having fun out there because he's got 4 new tires on. This is the best his car's been all day. He said, I'm going to pass some of these fellas. There we see the reader, Rusty Wallace, and he has dominated this event so far.
Just like he told us he would. And let's see how much of a lead he has. Well, it's a little over a half a lap, and we have a spin involving Dale Earnhardt. And Alan Kulwicki also. Terry Labonte is involved. A major crash here on the backstretch just off of corner number 2. I don't think anybody got hurt real seriously as far as damage to the car is concerned, but Earnhardt and Labonte were among the spinners.
Yes, and Rusty Wallace has lapped Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte while they were sitting there. So he has Earnhardt and Labonte a lap down.
A great break for Rusty Wallace, and a terrible break for Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte, who got tangled up with some other cars coming off of the second corner. Alan Kulwicki was also involved in that accident. There is Earnhardt, who is back underway. As a matter of fact, all the cars that did stop over there after spinning are back under their own power. But we do have a caution flag waving over Bristol International Raceway. Here is the replay.
What happened was Kulwicki it looked like he didn't realize that Earnhardt was alongside of him.
Let's go down to Jack, who's in the Dale Earnhardt pit.
Taking a look at Dale Earnhardt's pit crew as they go to work on the right side of the car. The sheet metal dinged in, rubbing against the tires. They're going to change all 4 tires. Meanwhile, also taking a look at Terry Labonte, who was involved. He shows the scars on the left side of the car. They removed the for the Piedmont Airlines entry. A tough break for both these gentlemen. As Benny Parsons told you, they have now gone at least 1 lap down. They're both away and back out to the racetrack, but they're off the lead lap.
And the leader, Rusty Wallace, came in and changed all 4 tires and is back out there. So he has fresh rubber on that car. There he is. Harry Gant also making a pit stop, as did Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte. Boy, what a break for him, though, Benny. And things happened just exactly the way they should have if you're a Rusty Wallace fan.
You're sure right.
All right, 308 laps completed. The yellow flag waves over the racetrack once again. He has just come out once again on the race, the Valleydale 500 here at Bristol, and Rusty Wallace is continuing to lead this race. In second position now is Darrell Waltrip. Third place would be the number 15 car of Ricky Rudd.
Look at Kyle Petty. Look at Kyle Petty.
And speaking of Petty, Richard Petty has come in for a pit stop, and there is some relief driving going on. Here's Jack Arute.
Behind me, you see the crew going to work on the STP Richard Petty machine. But in the seat is not Richard Petty, it's Morgan Shepherd. He's been called to relief. They're several laps down. He took 1 tour, had to come in to have the belts adjusted. They didn't fit right, and at Bristol here, you've got to stay tight in the seat.
So relief driving on the part of Morgan Shepherd for Richard Petty, and meanwhile we have a change of leader as Darrell Waltrip has gone into the lead, passing Rusty Wallace. Now Dale Earnhardt in car number 3, right behind Darrell Waltrip, is a lap down because of that spin in the backstretch.
And so is the 7 car, Kyle Petty. He's a lap down. He wants to stay in front of Darrell Waltrip, so if the caution flag does come out, he'll be able to go around and make up that lap. And Earnhardt wants to get by so he can do the same thing.
And how many times have we seen Darrell Waltrip in a situation where he's not particularly strong in the early or even middle stages of the race, but when you start thinking about the checkered flag, Darrell Waltrip is right there.
It looks like the Rusty Wallace has picked up a bad set of tires, that the stagger is wrong on the tires, that the sizing is wrong, because he just can't keep up. A few moments ago, he dominated the event. Right now, he's 5th place on the racetrack. He's probably about 3rd or 4th as far as the race is concerned, but he can't keep up with some cars right now.
So Rusty Wallace, who was looking so strong there in the middle stages of this race, is falling back. We'll continue to keep our eye on him. And Jack, what's the situation? I guess you've already found out for us, huh?
Well, Bob, Benny was exactly right. The car has developed a slight push. A bad set of tires, not really all that bad, but not as good as the set they had on when they led this event.
So Benny Parsons guesses right again, and it's a situation where Rusty would now like to see another yellow so that he can come in and get a new set of tires.
I'm sure Goodyear would sure wish we'd use the terminology of bad set of tires, because folks, it is not the tires are bad, the sizing is wrong, and therefore it makes the car handle differently than it did just a few moments ago.
Darrell Waltrip is your leader, Rusty Wallace 2nd, Ricky Rudd is 3rd, Bobby Allison running 4th, Harry Gant is 5th, then Bill Elliott 6th, and 7th is Kyle Petty, who is on the lead lap, although he's just ahead of Darrell Waltrip. A lap down in 8th place is Dale Earnhardt, then 9th is Tim Richmond, and 10th is Terry Labonte. Those drivers a lap down, and Dale would very much like to pass Darrell here and get his lap back.
And nothing Darrell Waltrip would rather happen than Dale Earnhardt stay right behind him. Darrell Waltrip would say, justice is mine.
Reference, of course, to several incidents over the year, but the most noteworthy and the most recent at Richmond, Virginia, when these two drivers battled for the lead going into the 3rd corner late in the race, when both were taken out in an accident, and some sanctions leveled against Earnhardt for a while, but most of those were rescinded later. But nevertheless, Dale got a pretty good hand slapping from NASCAR.
Darrell Waltrip going up high on the racetrack already. There's only been a few laps since they've changed tires. I'm surprised to see him going up this early. Maybe give Earnhardt the inside. Here he comes, Earnhardt on the inside.
Trying to get that lap back, so if there is another caution, he can circle the racetrack and once again be up with the leader. He smokes the tires coming off the fourth corner, gets that car sideways a little bit.
He certainly is trying. If he don't do it, it's certainly not from lack of trying, because he had it sideways coming off turn 4, trying to get by the Budweiser Chevrolet of Darrell Waltrip. And look at Tim Richmond, right behind Earnhardt.
That third car in your screen is Tim Richmond in number 25, and he and Earnhardt are battling for 8th and 9th position. Both of them are a lap down to the field, but nevertheless, they are scrapping for position. Tim Richmond, car number 25, in 9th.
And they aren't concerned about the spot right now, 8th and 9th, nearly as much as they are getting by Darrell Waltrip to get the lap back.
Last year at this race, Earnhardt and Tim Richmond had a meeting of minds on the racetrack, and Dale rooting around Tim Richmond, and there is Terry Labonte and Ricky Rudd side by side.
That's for third spot. They've been doing this same thing for about 2 laps, side by side. No one seems to be getting the advantage. Now Labonte has the advantage.
Oldsmobile against Ford out there for third place. Labonte with the advantage right now in the Oldsmobile and Rudd in the Ford.
I forgot Terry Labonte is a lap down. The scoreboard is showing him third spot, but he is a lap down.
Because of the incident on the backstretch, that is correct. So possession of third place rests with Ricky Rudd.
And look at Harry again, go by Ricky Rudd. Just like Rudd lost a cylinder or something.
Now watch the tire smoke come off of Gant's car. Every time he goes around the corners, there's tire smoke from that car.
More so than any other car here.
Right.
He really is smoking the tires severely.
And he's been doing that for several laps. You would think that they would have tried to correct that problem in his pit stops.
But he's smoking and going, I tell you.
Yeah, he is. So Darrell Waltrip continuing to lead this race. Kyle Petty right ahead of him is in 7th on the lead lap. 332 laps make that 333 laps completed. We talked to Darrell Waltrip about his incident with Dale Earnhardt at Richmond.
First short track race since Richmond. Ran well at Richmond, but only 399 3/4 laps. Do you think about it at all, especially when you come up alongside of Dale Earnhardt at this racetrack?
Yeah, I think about it. You know, I'm not anguishing over it, and it certainly has not affected my feelings toward Dale or the way we race or anything else. But I do think about it. I don't want it to happen again, and I deep down inside, I know he doesn't want it to happen again either. So I think we both, sometimes a bad thing will happen, and it's for the better. And this is one of those times. I think that even though it was a disastrous thing to have happen, I think in the end it'll be for the better, not only for me, but for everybody.
That's the words of Darrell Waltrip concerning that incident at Richmond earlier this year. Waltrip is your leader. He has, by the way, passed Kyle Petty to put Kyle a lap down, and so we now only have 6 cars on the lead lap. Back with more of our coverage from Bristol after these.
Freestyle skiing, the exciting new sport of the 80s. It's been called a mixture of gymnastics, diving, figure skating, and alpine skiing. A spectacular combination.
In the Valleydale 500, 362 laps completed. We are under yellow because of a spin by Doug Heverin on the backstretch. That's the reason that the field is slowed right now. The interesting thing that has come from this spin on the backstretch was this, Benny.
Dale Earnhardt trying to get his lap back. Here they come off the 4th corner, side by side to the start-finish line. By half a car length, Earnhardt has his lap back.
And so Dale Earnhardt is back on the lead lap, and we are just about to go green now. The lead is held still by Darrell Waltrip, with Rusty Wallace 2nd. Harry Gant is 3rd. Ricky Rudd is 4th, and here they come off the 4th corner to start the race once again.
And once again, Harry Gant got a terrible start.
Yeah, for the 2nd time in a row, he was very slow, moving up to speed. As a matter of fact, Ricky Rudd gave him a little bit of a bump there in the back end. Now let's see if Rusty Wallace has a better set of tires on that car than he did earlier.
If one lap is any indication, he does have a better set because he's glued to the back bumper of Darrell Waltrip's Budweiser Chevrolet.
Rusty Wallace, a former ASA champion whose brother, Ken Wallace, is an ASA rookie this year, and Rusty has helped him set up the car for the first ASA race, which will be next weekend in Cincinnati. So another Wallace joining the racing game.
You know, Rusty Wallace last year drove for Cliff Stewart out of High Point, North Carolina. And Bob, this is the first race that Cliff Stewart has missed in about 6 or 7 years.
We believe since Daytona of '81, Benny.
Daytona of '81. So, Cliff, we miss you. Hope you get back pretty soon.
Al Ugard, of course, the sponsor on the Rusty Wallace car, which is owned by Blue Max Racing, Raymond Beadle's team. Last year, this car was sponsored by Stroh's Old Milwaukee. That sponsorship has gone away, and Al Ugard sponsoring the number 27 Pontiac. There's the leader, Darrell Waltrip, but Rusty is right behind him on the racetrack.
Yes, Rusty Wallace's car looks much better this time than it did the last time.
We've been trying to think, at least we were when Rusty was leading this race in the Pontiac, the last time that a Pontiac won a Winston Cup race. And we now remember that it was at the Firecracker 400 in July of 1984 when Richard Petty won his 200.
Now, in a few laps, Darrell Waltrip's going to go up the racetrack as he did just a few moments ago. If Rusty Wallace can stay on the bottom of the racetrack and stick like he is right now, he has a chance to go by Waltrip.
We're watching the battle for the lead. Darrell Waltrip, who earlier in the race experienced all kinds of handling problems. The car was pushing, the car was loose, but he has held on to the lead now for several laps and is, for the moment at least, holding off the challenge of Rusty Wallace.
And he's not going up the racetrack. Maybe it hasn't been enough. We haven't run enough laps so far, but Wallace almost lost it up in the middle of 1 and 2. Extremely loose.
Got a little squirrely there coming off the corner and didn't lose a position, but did lose some distance between himself and Darrell. You know, we have 129 laps to go in this race, and the question at this point is, will the weather play a factor? As we look over the backstretch and into turn number 2, it isn't looking very favorable. There are a lot of dark skies back there, so this race could be affected by weather once again. It was at the beginning. We were delayed by the start for about an hour, and then of course we ran the first 11 laps of the race under yellow because of the wet racetrack, and it could very well play a part before this run is over.
It sure looks like it's going to. You know what happened to Rusty Wallace? Looks like Jack LaRue a few moments ago from the pit said that they were a little bit too tight. In other words, the car was pushing just a little bit. It looks to me like they have overcompensated, and the car right now is a little bit too loose.
There's the interval between first and second.
Darrell Waltrip is going up the racetrack right now, but unfortunately Rusty Wallace isn't close enough to take advantage of it.
We noticed a couple of laps ago, Benny, that car bottomed out there in the third turn. And there's also, as we watch the cars go around, especially turn 4 and turn 2, there's a lot of black, is that rubber laying up there?
That is rubber, yes. That's rubber that's worn off these racing tires and has blown up against the outside retaining wall. If those guys get up there, they're in a lot of trouble because that rubber is loose enough that it would spin them out.
It's like a bunch of marbles, isn't it, when you drive over it?
Yeah, there's a bump or something up there. I noticed Darrell Waltrip's car as he came off that fourth corner just a moment ago hit that bump. It looks like something's bottoming out.
Jack, in the pit area, we're watching Rusty Wallace here.
Yeah, and I do have a comment about Rusty. I checked with Barry Dodson, and unlike what Benny said, the car, they say, is still showing a little too tight for their liking. So they want to loosen it up even more if they get another pit stop.
Well, he dropped back there a few laps ago because he got a little sideways over in the second corner, but now once again is beginning to reel in Darrell Waltrip.
He is beginning to reel him in. When he got the car sideways up in the middle of 1 and 2 a moment ago, I said, well, he's too loose, and he was falling back. But right now, he's coming back right on Darrell Waltrip, just about 4 or 5 car lengths behind him.
He is indeed. As we watch the first 2 here, we'll tell you that Harry Gant is running in 3rd spot. Ricky Rudd is 4th. And 5th position now is Dale Earnhardt, who by virtue of that made-up lap goes back into the top 5. 6th is Bobby Allison, who's run a strong, competitive, and very consistent race all day. And 7th, the final car on the lead lap, is Bill Elliott in number 9.
Darrell Waltrip right now, Bob, is trying so hard to find him a groove that will enable him to win this race and stay in front of Rusty Wallace. A few moments ago, he was on top of the racetrack. Now he's on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to find the fast way around. There we see Ricky Rudd Harry again. Great race for third place. They'll by Kyle Petty's Ford. Rudd's Ford, the Motorcraft Ford, following the Skull Bandit Chevrolet of Harry again. Up high in 3 and 4.
And with smoke off the right side rubber once again as he goes through the corners. There's Ricky Rudd in car number 15 running in 4th position. Just a little over 100 laps to go in this race. 383 have been completed. The Skull Bandit Chevy of Harry Gant running in 3rd, and Ricky Rudd's Ford in 4th.
We'll see Terry Labonte's Oldsmobile, the Piedmont car, right in front of Harry Gant. He is a lap down. And when it spin a moment ago over in turn 2, was lapped before he could get the car going again.
Harry Gant finished 2nd at Rockingham earlier this year, but dropped out of the Daytona 500 and the Richmond 400. He is 12th in the point standings, and his best finish here at Bristol was 3rd back in 1982. And there is Dale Earnhardt, who's also beginning to show some strength.
He's got a long way to go because he has to get by Rudd, Gant, Terry Labonte before he can get back up front. What Earnhardt needs right now is another caution flag.
As we watch the leaders once again, here is Rusty Wallace, even closer now to Darrell Waltrip. He's moved right in on the back of Waltrip Chevrolet. Into turn number 2, Waltrip is the car on the low side of the racetrack, and Waltrip is high down the backstretch. Let's see what happens as they go into turn number 3. Waltrip remains high on the track, and Wallace low. No challenge for the lead at that point. Now, would you be interested in leading at this point, Benny?
Well, sure, because that black cloud over on the back straightaway, it may rain at any time. So Rusty Wallace, if he has the ability to get by, needs to do it as quickly as he can.
Waltrip letting that car drift high in turn number 4. And that allows Rusty to close right in on him. Now, again, we have a challenge for the lead. They're side by side as they go down the backstretch. Waltrip inches ahead once again and passes Buddy Arrington in number 67 and puts another lap on Buddy.
Waltrip getting the car sideways off turn 4. Allows Wallace to come right up on the inside. He's trying it one more time.
And Waltrip still has the lead. Rusty Wallace cannot take over that top spot. Now they move high and pass another ASA standout, Butch Miller. And there are the crossed fingers in the pit area. Rusty still unable to make the move on Darrell Waltrip. A great race for the lead here. They're in corner number 4 once again, and they're side by side.
Darrell Waltrip uses that momentum off the corners to his advantage to go down the straightaway.
Definitely does. Rusty can close in and move side by side with him on the corners, but when they get to the straightaway, it's a Waltrip advantage. But typical short track, excellent racing here at Bristol. Look at this. Side by side now, Wallace and Waltrip.
This is his best shot so far.
Can he do it? Not yet.
If he get Waltrip a little bit sideways up in the corner, he may be able to make it. No, Waltrip comes off the corner straight, uses momentum.
And there is Junior.
He's really excited about this whole thing, isn't he?
Looking rather unconcerned, but I'm sure down deep inside he's saying, boy, come on, Darrell. Here they are again, side by side off the corner. But Waltrip still will not relinquish that top spot.
What a great race. Darrell Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, Chevrolet and a Pontiac. And you know, the first 4 races of the year have been won by Chevrolet, Ford, Oldsmobile, and then Buick. A Pontiac hasn't won. If Rusty Wallace can get to the front, it looks like he can do it today. That'd be 5 different races, 5 winners, 5 different brands of cars.
That's right, and it would make our 11th different winner when you consider both the later part of last season and the first 5 races of this year. But for the moment, Rusty is unable to grab that top spot from Darrell Waltrip.
This is his best shot. He's from the long side going in. No, just can't get in turn 3 quite as deep as he wants to.
Oh, Waltrip wide, though. Can't do it. guys must be having fun, though. Meanwhile, here is Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt. And Earnhardt, remember, is back on the lead lap, and he just moved into 4th spot, passing Harry Gant.
He's got Ricky Rudd to get by.
Boy, what an interesting afternoon for Dale Earnhardt, who has led this race. Now, here we go. Rusty Wallace going ahead of Darrell Waltrip. Wallace grabs the lead at the end of the backstretch.
Rusty Wallace has the lead, and the way he's been running right now, he's going to start pulling away from Waltrip.
And we have 100 laps to go. There's lap 400 completed. 100 laps to go. Now let's see if he can pull away from Darrell Waltrip. Rusty is into the lead once again of the Valleydale 500 from Bristol International Raceway, and we'll be back to resume our coverage of this Winston Cup NASCAR race in a Valleydale 500, and Rusty Wallace is the leader with Darrell Waltrip running in 2nd position, followed by Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt, and Harry Gant. But the man on the move at the moment is Dale Earnhardt, and we're watching him very carefully. Here, however, is the battle for 2nd position involving Waltrip and Ricky Rudd.
Darrell Waltrip's car just is probably working as badly as it has any time all day. He's drifting back. Ricky Rudd has caught him. Meanwhile, Rusty Wallace has checked out. He's probably a straightaway ahead of Darrell Waltrip right now.
We'll try to get an interval between 1st and 2nd next time around. We watch this battle for 2nd, though. Red and white cars, one a Chevy, one a Ford. Ricky Rudd.
Darrell Waltrip realizes he needs to stay on the bottom of the racetrack because that is the fastest way around. So he has moved back down to the bottom to try to block the move of Ricky Rudd.
It's a 3.01 second lead for Rusty Wallace over Darrell Waltrip and Rudd.
And Rudd is going to try it on the outside because he needs to get by as quick as he can, because right behind him, Dale Earnhardt. He's coming.
They are approaching some slower traffic as they go down the backstretch. Rick Wilson in car number 4 will be the driver that they attempt to put a lap on here. There he is in the black car. Rick Wilson from Bartow, Florida. They go to the high side of the racetrack and turn number 1. And Waltrip passes him, and now Rudd also does as they go down the backstretch.
There's Dale Earnhardt.
There is Earnhardt.
Blue and yellow car, number 3.
Rick Wilson, by the way, is running pretty strong in this race. He is 11th, despite the fact that he was just lapped there by 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spot. He is 11th, and a good showing for this young driver.
That car is based about 15, 20 miles from here in Abingdon, Virginia. Some nice fellows, the McClure brothers, own the automobile.
2, 3, and 4 right here. Waltrip, Rudd, and Dale Earnhardt. We timed a lap by Rusty Wallace a few minutes ago, and then one by Dale Earnhardt, and they're running just about the same speed on the track, which is about an 18-second lap, and that translates to a speed of 106 miles an hour. Can Dale pass these two guys? And look at Rudd. Now moving alongside Waltrip down the backstretch. Going for 2nd is Ricky Rudd in 15.
Well, he made that look easy. Well, he isn't by yet.
I think he's going to be as they come off the corner. Yes, Rudd now in 2nd. Earnhardt looking for 3rd as he moves alongside Darrell Waltrip in corner number 2. And Earnhardt is 3rd.
See, that's the advantage that Rusty Wallace has right now, is that Dale Earnhardt is probably the 2nd fastest car on the racetrack, but he yet has to get by Ricky Rudd in the Monograph Ford, and that's not going to be easy, I don't think.
While all of this is going on, Rusty Wallace continues to stretch out the advantage. There is Rudd in 2nd position. There is the leader with a now 3.74 second lead on Ricky Rudd. The last time a Raymond Beetle car won was on ESPN in 1984, the Northwestern Bank 400 with Tim Richmond in the cockpit. The Beetle team looking for a victory here this afternoon with their driver, Rusty Wallace.
There we see the interval. So complete straightaway right now.
But the question is, can he hold on to it for another, what do we got? 422 laps completed. We got 78 more to go, and that's quite a long time, especially when you're in the lead, and especially when you haven't never won a Winston Cup race.
That is an eternity. Believe me, Rusty Wallace would love to see it pour rain right now.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty black over the 3rd turn, but The NASCAR radar indicates the closest showers are 25 nautical miles away, and they're moving this way at 20 miles an hour. And that would theoretically mean that they will not arrive for another hour, but the weatherman does not always go by radar and other things like that.
I mean, when it gets too much water up there, it rains.
That's right. So Ricky Rudd is in second. Dale Earnhardt is in third. The lead is held by Rusty Wallace, and we'll be back for more at Bristol International Raceway this week. Next Sunday, we'll be in Darlington for the Trans-South 500 on that very exciting high bank racetrack. Join us live at 1 o'clock next Sunday afternoon for the Trans-South 500. And, of course, one of those competitors in that race next week will be Benny Parsons, who this week is in the broadcast booth with me. And Benny, on the racetrack, it's still Rusty Wallace.
He's simply driving away, but Dale Earnhardt in the Wrangler machine has taken over second place from Ricky Rudd.
Now, it's about a half a lap advantage for Rusty Wallace on Dale Earnhardt, but Earnhardt certainly is the strongest car in the field, with the possible exception of Rusty Wallace, who still looks like he may win his first Winston Cup race, become the 11th different winner in 11 races in this kind of competition, the 5th different winner this year, and the 5th different kind of car make in the winner's circle.
In 5 races?
Yes, 5 races.
The parity this year has been just simply unbelievable. It looks like it's almost fixed, because each week a different car wins, but believe me, it isn't. Dale Earnhardt is trying as hard as he possibly can to beat the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace.
And Rusty has 28 laps to go, 28 more times around this .533-mile oval. His advantage on Dale Earnhardt is just under 7 seconds. It's 6.93 to be exact. Here is Wallace crossing the stripe one more time, completing lap 473. Ricky Rudd is in third spot. Fourth is Darrell Waltrip. Fifth is Harry Gant, and sixth is Bill Elliott. Those are the only cars on the lead lap, and it is not going to be too long before Rusty is going to be in a position to lap Bill Elliott. There is Bill on the extreme left of your screen, and Wallace now in the backstretch puts another lap on Buddy Arrington, and now sets his sights on the 6th place car of Bill Elliott.
And Bill Elliott really needs to stay in the lead lap, because we mentioned a moment ago, in short track racing, he's only been in the lead lap one time. And I'm sure that was a goal of his today, starting this race, is finishing the lead lap.
The intensity in the pit area is incredible as individuals root for their favorite drivers. There is Wallace going high and passing Trevor Boyes. The weather still could be a problem here. It is very, very dark over turn number 3 and the backstretch, but we only have 24 laps remaining. Let's hope that we can get all of this race in. 477 laps completed. Rusty Wallace is the leader here at Bristol. Now ESPN and NASCAR present a track fact.
Stock car drivers need to have a heavy right foot to mash the accelerator. On a short track like Bristol, they need a heavy left foot as well in order to ride the brake and work the car through the turns. It's real important that you use both, because there's no margin for error when you run Bristol.
This track fact has been brought to you by International Raceway in Eastern Tennessee for the Valleydale 500 Winston Cup race. The leader is Rusty Wallace. International Raceway in Eastern Tennessee for the Valleydale 500 Winston Cup race. The leader is Rusty Wallace in car number 27. He is going high on the backstretch to pass the 5th place car. There he puts a lap on the 5th place car of Harry Gant, and so only 3 cars besides Rusty Wallace remain on the lead lap. And those cars are Dale Earnhardt in car number 3, who is second, then Ricky Rudd, who is third, and Darrell Waltrip is in 4th position. We have 13 laps to go. Now that is the car that was assigned to Richard Petty at the start of this race. However, Richard came out of that car about the midway point, and Morgan Shepherd, who yesterday won a Grand National race here at Bristol International Raceway, is currently relief driving for Richard Petty. interesting race to this point, and Rusty Wallace has only 11 more circuits to go, and his advantage over Dale Earnhardt is about 7 or 8 seconds. So it appears as if Rusty Wallace may be on his way to his first Winston Cup win. He was quoted yesterday as saying, "We are going to dominate the race tomorrow. The car is running real good. This is my best chance to ever win a short track race." And that prediction at this moment is coming true. Now there are less than 10 laps to go for Wallace.
That's the race we're looking at right now between Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip for car 11, Ricky Rudd car 15. That's for third spot. And if Darrell Waltrip can finish in the top 5, you know, since last Dover last May, his finish in the top 5 is phenomenal. Something like 18 out of 23 or something like that. He's phenomenal when it comes to finishing up front.
And that's the reason why he's the leader in Winston Cup points at this time consistently. His finishes this year, a third, a fifth, a fourth, and he's running 4th here today. And he was quoted as saying earlier that, yes, he agrees that it is consistency that wins the Winston Cup these days. The point system is so arranged that you no longer go for the win, but rather consistency.
Just a moment ago, Darrell Waltrip was right on the rear bumper of Ricky Rudd, but now Rudd has seemed to be able to pull away for a couple of car lengths. There's only 6 laps to go. 6 laps to go. Darrell Waltrip needs this spot to rank. It'll help in his Winston Cup point stands if he can pass Ricky Rudd.
And Rudd, by the way, is, let's see, in the point standings way down in 19th. So Rudd would like to pick up some valuable points here and maintain that position. Dale Earnhardt smoking in turn number 4. The car smoking very badly. He drops to the inside of the racetrack. The car is still under power, but Dale Earnhardt, who is running second, appears to be finished for the afternoon. He drops down to the inside of the racetrack. He's going to make it to the pit area, it appears, and there will be no yellow. There will be 3 laps to go when Rusty Wallace crosses the stripe next time.
That's 3 is Dale Earnhardt's unlucky number, and it's a number on the side of his race car because he keeps falling out of these races with 3 laps to go.
Fuel has been the main problem with Dale Earnhardt, but this is not a fuel problem. That engine is sick.
He's just trying to make all the laps he possibly can because it might mean 4 or 5 spots. 498 laps completed. 2 more laps for Rusty Wallace. Less than a mile of racing now for the young driver from Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, who is on his way to his first Winston Cup win, will become the 5th different driver to win this year, and the 5th different make of car to visit victory lane this year. White flag is out. Harold Kinder has put the white flag on Rusty Wallace. Just a half a lap. He's on the back straightaway. Going in turn 3. He can almost smell the checkered flag from here.
Off the 4th corner, Rusty Wallace wins the Valleydale 500 and his first Winston Cup race ever. He already has his hand outside of the side of the car, saluting and waving. Earnhardt crosses the stripe under the checkered, but the car is just barely moving. And Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip, who were battling also for position, Ricky Rudd wins 2nd position and Waltrip 3rd. An unbelievable story here this afternoon as Rusty Wallace started 14th. He took the lead on lap 239 for the first time and led a total of 174 of the 500 laps. Rusty Wallace wins here today. We'll be back to talk with him in a moment. 500 from Bristol International Raceway has been won by Rusty Wallace. Let's go down to victory lane where Jack Arute is with Rusty.
And you won't find a happier victory lane than with this guy right here, your first Winston Cup victory of your career. Congratulations, Rusty. How does it feel?
Oh, I just can't say it in words, you know. It was great. I just wish my wife Patty was here to share this with me. You know, it's a dream of a lifetime. And Barry Dodson, Raymond Beadle, Rich Matera with Al Ugard, all the people, they did a great job, you know. And I can't say enough about Barry Dodson and Jimmy Makart, everybody, you know. Without these guys, I just couldn't have made it. It was just something that I didn't think it ever happened because I worked so hard. And that last 30 laps seemed like 200, I'll tell you, and I just kept driving every line just as careful as I could. And 50 laps in a race, I said, boy, I wish there was just one more lap left. And then that one lap come on, I said, thank God.
Now listen, earlier in the week, you were quoted in the local papers as saying, the car feels good. I'm not only going to win, I'm going to dominate. Are you being a prophet now before you score your first victory?
Well, no, sir. That was a misunderstanding. I just said the car was running good, and they asked me who's going to dominate the race, and I said, I don't think there's going to be any one person who's going to do it, but if anybody could do it, it'd be the Blue Max team, because our car's running that well. And this wins for these guys. They pulled it off. Harold Elliott, our engine builder, he just did, oh, what a fabulous job. That motor run like a clock all day long, and those pit stops, unreal. But thanks a lot to the sponsor, Goodyear and God, for having a safe race.
Well, I tell you what, I got all your crew behind us here. What do you guys think? Pretty good for a first victory, wasn't it? Well, that about says it all here from Victory Lane. Bob, Benny?
All right, thank you, Jack. Congratulations to Rusty. And our Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. You either...